A 65-year-old man abruptly terminated a blind date with a 52-year-old woman after hearing her demands. Have you ever encountered a dating scenario so appalling you instantly wanted to flee? Consider this. A 65-year-old man embarks on a blind date with a 52-year-old woman. Initially, all seems well, until she presents 4 demands that compel him to immediately abandon the encounter. What were these demands that prompted such a decisive exit? Discover the surprising details now. 1. A 6-month trial cohabitation period requires a USD 20,000 security deposit. Christine proposed a 6-month trial period of cohabitation to assess their compatibility before committing to a long-term relationship. This approach, while not unprecedented, particularly among individuals with prior marital experience or extensive independent living, offers a pragmatic means of mitigating the risk of hasty decisions and subsequent relationship dissolution. The central point of contention, however, revolves around Christine's stipulated deposit of $20,000. She asserts that this sum serves as a demonstrable indicator of Michael's commitment to the trial and will be proportionally reimbursed should the cohabitation prove unsuccessful. This financial element, while potentially controversial, is presented by Christine as a safeguard against frivolous engagement and a quantifiable measure of Michael's seriousness regarding the prospect of a lasting partnership. The proposed arrangement, therefore, necessitates a thorough examination of its legal and ethical implications, alongside a careful consideration of the potential benefits and drawbacks for both parties involved. The financial component, in particular, requires a detailed agreement outlining the terms of repayment and the criteria for determining success or failure of the trial period. Christine's perspective. The rationale behind her demand. Christine's request for a substantial financial commitment stems from a calculated assessment of risk mitigation and relationship validation. Past experiences may have left her financially and emotionally vulnerable, leading her to implement safeguards against potential exploitation. The requested sum serves as a demonstrable commitment from Michael, a crucial element in her evaluation of his sincerity. This financial commitment acts as a form of security, mitigating the risk of Michael pursuing a cohabitational relationship without assuming commensurate responsibility. The financial request functions as a binding agreement, reducing the likelihood of abandonment and ensuring a degree of financial stability within the nascent relationship. Michael's perspective. Grounds for his objection. Michael's refusal is rooted in his belief that genuine love transcends financial transactions. He asserts that a sustainable relationship should be founded on mutual trust, respect, and understanding, not contingent upon a monetary deposit. The demand for financial proof of commitment fundamentally alters the nature of the relationship, transforming it from a bond of affection into a transactional agreement. The financial implications are significant. $20,000 represents a considerable sum for a retiree, raising concerns about Christine's true motivations and the potential for financial exploitation. Furthermore, despite Christine's promise of partial reimbursement in case of relationship dissolution, the lack of concrete guarantees presents a substantial financial risk for Michael. The imposition of this financial condition undermines the organic development of the relationship, creating an atmosphere of coercion and contractual obligation rather than spontaneous affection. The core issue and consequences of imbalance in relationships. A healthy relationship necessitates equity and reciprocal contributions from both parties. The demand for a substantial financial commitment from one individual, Michael, at the outset reveals a significant imbalance. This immediately raises concerns about the long-term viability of the relationship. The inherent inequity undermines the foundation of mutual respect and shared responsibility upon which successful partnerships are built. Such an imbalance fosters resentment and distrust, ultimately jeopardizing the relationship's future. Lack of trust. Christine's demand for a financial demonstration of commitment suggests a profound lack of trust in Michael. A more constructive approach would involve open communication and the building of trust through shared experiences and consistent demonstrations of affection and reliability. The request for money as a measure of seriousness circumvents the essential process of cultivating genuine trust and mutual understanding. This raises serious questions about the relationship's foundation and its potential for longevity. If trust is absent from the outset, the relationship is inherently unstable and unlikely to endure. Commodification of affection. A sustainable relationship cannot be purchased with financial transactions. When financial considerations become the primary metric for assessing commitment, the very essence of love and genuine connection is distorted. This transactional approach reduces the relationship to a purely economic exchange, devoid of the emotional intimacy and mutual respect that are fundamental to a healthy partnership. The prioritization of financial security over emotional intimacy signals a fundamental flaw in the relationship's dynamic and casts doubt on its long-term prospects. The use of money as a measure of seriousness devalues the intrinsic worth of the relationship and undermines the potential for authentic connection. Number 2. Fully fund a month-long Hawaiian vacation. Christine's proposal that Michael should bear the entire cost of a month-long Hawaiian vacation warrants a thorough examination. This is not a casual holiday. It represents a significant, prolonged, and expensive undertaking. The underlying motivation for this request demands scrutiny. From Christine's perspective, this extravagant trial run of cohabitation serves a multifaceted purpose. It functions as a high-stakes assessment of Michael's financial generosity and willingness to invest substantially in their relationship. A prolonged, luxurious vacation provides an accelerated and intensified test of compatibility, revealing not only shared preferences, but also fundamental differences in lifestyle expectations and spending habits. The financial commitment required for such a trip serves as a direct measure of Michael's generosity and financial capacity. A willingness to readily expend a considerable sum on this vacation could indicate a robust financial standing and a predisposition towards future lavish expenditure on Christine. Furthermore, Christine's proposal might reflect a desire to establish a high standard of living from the outset of their relationship. If her conception of happiness is intrinsically linked to material comfort and opulent experiences, this extravagant vacation serves as a deliberate attempt to set a precedent for future financial commitments and lifestyle expectations. The true nature of Christine's request, therefore, transcends a simple vacation proposal. It constitutes a calculated assessment of Michael's financial capabilities and his commitment to a lifestyle of significant material indulgence. From Michael's perspective, a rationale for disagreement. The proposed month-long trip to Hawaii presents a financially unsound proposition. Such a trip, depending on the level of luxury, could easily cost between $20,000 and $50,000. For a retiree like Michael, committing such a significant sum at the nascent stage of a relationship constitutes a considerable financial risk. This expenditure is particularly concerning given the absence of equitable financial contribution from Christine. The imbalance in financial responsibility is a critical point of contention. In a serious relationship, shared financial burdens are a hallmark of mutual commitment and respect. If Christine genuinely desires to explore a cohabitational lifestyle, a proportionate contribution to the trip's expenses is not merely expected but essential. Her failure to offer such contribution raises serious questions about the nature of her intentions. Michael's reservations extend beyond mere financial considerations. The proposal evokes the unsettling impression of a transactional relationship where his financial resources are the primary focus. A genuine commitment would prioritize shared experiences and mutual investment, rather than placing an immediate and substantial financial burden on one party. This disproportionate financial expectation suggests a potentially exploitative dynamic, undermining the foundation of a healthy and equitable partnership. Furthermore, the proposed duration of the trip is excessive for a relationship in its early stages. While short trips can serve as valuable opportunities for couples to assess compatibility and strengthen their bond, a month-long trip, entirely funded by one individual, lacks the pragmatic foundation of a balanced and sustainable relationship. Such a significant commitment of time and resources should be predicated on a more established and demonstrably reciprocal connection. Therefore, Michael's reluctance is not merely a matter of personal preference, but a reasoned response to a proposal that lacks both financial prudence and relational equity. Consequences and implications. The disparity in Michael and Christine's values regarding finances and relationships is evident. While Michael prioritizes emotional connection, Christine appears to place greater emphasis on financial considerations. Risk of exploitation. This request may indicate Christine is testing Michael's financial capacity before committing to a long-term relationship. Compliance could lead to escalating financial demands in the future. Potential for commodification. Michael risks being valued solely for his financial resources rather than his personal qualities. Instead of being appreciated for his character and integrity, he may feel reduced to a mere source of funds. 3. All retirement income shall be entrusted to Christine for management. Christine's demand that Michael relinquish control of his retirement income to her constitutes a serious request with significant implications for personal financial autonomy, a cornerstone of any healthy relationship. The underlying motivations for this demand warrant careful examination. From Christine's perspective, several potential objectives emerge. Establishing immediate financial control allows her to unilaterally dictate the allocation and expenditure of Michael's retirement funds. This creates a significant power imbalance and potential financial dependence, potentially hindering Michael's ability to extricate himself from the relationship should dissatisfaction arise. Securing unfettered access to his funds is another plausible motive, particularly if Michael is known to be frugal or possesses established financial plans. Christine's management of his finances could circumvent his established practices and provide her with readily available funds, indicative of potentially unhealthy financial control. Finally, Michael's acquiescence could be interpreted as a demonstration of unwavering trust. However, such trust should not necessitate the complete abdication of personal financial control, especially within the context of a nascent relationship. The gravity of this request necessitates a thorough assessment of the power dynamics inherent in this financial arrangement and its potential long-term consequences for both parties. From Michael's perspective, why this is a dangerous demand? This request to relinquish complete control of his retirement income to Christine presents several significant and potentially devastating risks for Michael. The core issue transcends mere financial management. It strikes at the heart of personal autonomy and exposes Michael to substantial financial, legal, and relational vulnerabilities. Firstly, surrendering complete financial control represents a profound loss of personal agency. Michael would be entirely dependent on Christine's decisions regarding the expenditure and management of his retirement funds. This lack of control creates a significant risk of financial exploitation, particularly in the absence of transparent budgeting and accounting practices on Christine's part. The potential for misuse or misappropriation of funds is substantial, leaving Michael vulnerable and without recourse. Secondly, this demand undermines the fundamental principles of a healthy and equitable relationship. In a balanced partnership, both individuals maintain a degree of financial independence and control over their own resources. The proposed arrangement establishes a power imbalance, placing Michael in a position of significant vulnerability and dependence. This inherent inequality is a clear indicator of an unhealthy dynamic within the relationship. The request is not simply about money. It is a power play, a blatant attempt to exert undue control and influence. If Christine genuinely cared for Michael's well-being, she would not demand such a complete surrender of his financial autonomy. This behavior raises serious concerns about the nature of their relationship and Christine's true intentions. Finally, the potential financial and legal ramifications are severe. Should Christine engage in irresponsible spending, fraudulent activities, or other forms of financial mismanagement, Michael would be left with no effective means of recovering his assets. In a worst-case scenario, she could transfer assets, engage in transactions detrimental to Michael's interests, or even sever ties after gaining complete control of his finances. The legal complexities and costs associated with rectifying such a situation would be substantial, potentially leaving Michael destitute and without recourse. Therefore, this demand is not merely unwise, it is demonstrably dangerous and should be unequivocally rejected. The ramifications and consequences of losing personal control over one's life are significant. If Michael lacks access to his finances, He becomes entirely dependent on Christine, potentially leading to both financial and emotional subjugation. This dependence creates a vulnerability to exploitation and manipulation. The lack of financial autonomy constitutes a serious red flag, indicative of potential financial abuse. Elderly individuals are frequently targeted in such schemes, resulting in the devastating loss of their life savings. This vulnerability extends beyond immediate concerns. The absence of independent financial control jeopardizes future financial freedom and security. Should Christine leave the relationship or mismanage his finances, Michael could face a catastrophic financial crisis with little to no recourse. This is particularly perilous for retirees who lack the opportunity to rebuild lost assets. The potential for long-term hardship and diminished quality of life underscores the critical need for Michael to regain control of his financial affairs. The risks associated with this power imbalance are substantial and warrant immediate attention and intervention. 4. Maintaining separate sleeping arrangements, even within a marriage. Christine's demand for separate sleeping arrangements, even within the context of marriage, presents a unique and noteworthy condition. While the conventional expectation for married couples involves shared sleeping quarters as a symbol of intimacy and emotional connection, Christine's request necessitates a deeper examination of its underlying motivations. Several potential explanations warrant consideration. Firstly, Christine may prioritize the preservation of personal space and autonomy. This preference, while unconventional, is not uncommon. Individual sleep schedules, distinct sleep needs, or a simple preference for solitary rest can all contribute to a desire for separate sleeping arrangements. If Christine is accustomed to sleeping alone, the imposition of shared sleeping might be perceived as a compromise of personal freedom and comfort. Secondly, underlying health or psychological factors could be at play. Sleep disorders, such as snoring or insomnia, can significantly disrupt sleep quality for both partners. Christine may be seeking to mitigate potential disruptions caused by Michael's sleep habits or vice versa. Her request could stem from a need to prioritize her own sleep hygiene and mental well-being. Thirdly, Christine's demand may reflect a broader pattern of control within the relationship. Considering this request in conjunction with previously established conditions, particularly regarding financial control, suggests a deliberate attempt to establish a relationship dynamic where Christine maintains significant autonomy and decision-making power. Separate sleeping arrangements could serve as a means of maintaining emotional distance and limiting the intimacy typically associated with marriage, thereby preventing the natural progression of the relationship. Finally, the possibility of ulterior motives cannot be discounted. If Christine's commitment to the marriage is questionable, or if financial incentives are a significant factor, maintaining emotional distance through separate sleeping arrangements could serve to manipulate Michael's emotional investment and maintain control over the relationship's trajectory. This scenario raises concerns about the long-term viability and authenticity of the marriage itself. A thorough understanding of Christine's motivations is crucial for assessing the stability and future prospects of the union. The impact of separate sleeping arrangements on marital intimacy is significant. Sleeping together is not merely a habit, it plays a crucial role in fostering intimacy and emotional connection between spouses. Christine's initial insistence on separate sleeping arrangements could severely undermine the development of this vital marital bond. This unconventional approach to marriage raises serious questions about the nature of the relationship. Traditionally, couples share a bed to facilitate emotional sharing, intimate moments, and increased understanding. Christine's adamant refusal to sleep together suggests a potential devaluation of the emotional aspects of the marriage, or perhaps indicates ulterior motives for entering the union. The long-term consequences of this separation are likely to be detrimental. Sleeping apart from the outset can cultivate emotional distance and a lack of connection, ultimately leading to a situation where two individuals cohabitate yet remain emotionally estranged, failing to fulfill the fundamental expectations of a marital partnership. This raises the critical question: is this a genuine marriage? Coupled with financial control, The insistence on separate sleeping arrangements strongly suggests a marriage lacking genuine affection. It raises the distinct possibility that Christine's primary motivation for marriage is not love, but rather the pursuit of other objectives, such as asset management or financial gain from Michael's resources. This scenario warrants a thorough examination of the underlying dynamics of the relationship. The consequences and impact of marital loneliness on Michael are significant. His feelings of loneliness, even within the confines of marriage, stem from a demonstrable lack of intimacy and emotional sharing with Christine. The absence of emotional connection at night strongly suggests a corresponding lack of connection throughout the day, creating a pervasive sense of isolation. This emotional distance significantly increases the risk of marital discord. If Michael desires a traditional marriage characterized by physical and emotional intimacy, the practice of sleeping separately will likely cultivate dissatisfaction and resentment. The absence of physical intimacy is a well-documented predictor of marital strain and an elevated risk of divorce. Furthermore, the shared sleep experience facilitates the exchange of daily anxieties and concerns. Sleeping separately suggests Christine's deliberate emotional and physical distancing from Michael, hindering the mutual support system crucial for a successful marriage. This lack of shared vulnerability and daily support further exacerbates the potential for marital breakdown. 4 seemingly innocuous requests from a woman prompted an immediate and decisive departure from her male counterpart. The specifics of these demands remain undisclosed, yet their cumulative effect proved insurmountable, triggering an abrupt end to their interaction. This raises a critical question. Was the man's reaction justified, a rational response to unreasonable expectations, or did he prematurely relinquish a potentially rewarding relationship? The subjective nature of this assessment necessitates a careful consideration of individual perspectives and values. Was the perceived burden of these requests truly excessive, or did a lack of communication and mutual understanding contribute to the breakdown? The absence of context surrounding these requests hinders a definitive judgment. However, the incident serves as a compelling case study in the complexities of interpersonal dynamics and the delicate balance required for successful relationships. Further analysis is needed to determine whether this was a wise decision or a missed opportunity, highlighting the importance of clear communication and compromise in romantic partnerships. We encourage viewers to engage in a thoughtful discussion of this scenario in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and activate notifications to stay updated on future explorations of similarly intriguing dating narratives. We look forward to your insightful contributions and await your participation in our next video.